We're back to Chapter 7, going to carry on with this Lotto Quick Pick program. And what we've done here is we've randomly created some numbers. We've looped through, we've loaded up an array, we've outputted the array values. Now we take those outputted arrays, assign them to variables here, because what we're going to do is run a method here called let's check the numbers. And when we check the numbers, I'm not actually passing these numbers as arguments into the method here, but I could have restructured this a different way. Because I set these up as form variables, these still have their value. So this is a very convoluted type of condition statement. If you look at it, basically what I'm doing is I'm saying if the number 1 is equal to the number 2, or the number 1 is equal to the number 3, and so on, if anything is equal to any of the other numbers, then display a message, duplicate numbers, Lotto numbers, pick again. And that will display a message box. So what this check numbers method is doing, it's going through all of this right here manually to check to see if any of these numbers are duplicated. And if they are, of course, just send out a message. Now, of course, this looks very problematic, and it looks like we could probably use a repetition structure, maybe a loop within a loop here, to do a check to see if we could probably make this a lot easier for the computer to process that. And we can actually write this in several different ways, but I chose this way because of the current state of where we are in the particular course. Now, that's going to return back to here and display a message, whether it was a duplicate Lotto number or not. All right, now, if you think about it, the controls themselves, these controls right here, are like an array. This label here, this label, this is like an array of controls. So we could kind of simplify this process, and I've kind of done that down here. And I haven't provided this in the student file. You'll have to actually write this yourself. And so what this is going to do is we're still going to create a random number object. So this is the second quick pick, hence the name here, button quick pick number 2. Create a random number right here. But what I'm doing is I'm creating an instance of a label object here. So we're creating an object from the class here called labels. And we're creating a new instance of that object in the memory, and I'm going to initialize these names. So this name right here for this first one is called the first label, and the second one here is called the second label. Those terrible names. The third one is called third label. And what I've done is I've initialized this array here. You can see how I've done this. First label, second label, third label, and so on as we progress all the way through, all the way to the bonus label over here. And then simply what we can do, instead of going through this process of loading them manually, we can actually use a loop here to loop through and just do it once. So we've got a label here. We're going to count from 0 to 6, and we're going to take the text box of each of those, and we're going to stick a random number between 1 and 49 in there, convert it into a regular number with 0 decimal points. I guess I didn't need to do that either because it's an integer value. Doesn't have any decimal places. I could probably take that out. And it's going to load up the array. So when I run this now, what's happening is it goes through. All right, I click the quick pick, and it runs it. And because I put an n in there with no decimal places, or n has 1 by default. Now this one works the same kind of way. And I click this one, and it keeps picking random numbers. Very similar, but if you take a look at the code, it's a lot quicker and how it's written, a lot more efficient by creating. Not only is we're bypassing, in a sense, this whole step right here, because we're repeating something over and over and over. So what we've done is we've basically created this in here and done it all at the same time right here. We put the random generator and then assigned it at the same time. All right, so take a look at that code right here. You can modify yours and update it. It's a good little challenge project by creating a control array, and that's the control array right there. Labels set up as an array.